Hello, I'm JD from Bubuju Da Nang, and in this video, I'm going to introduce to you about the steps to do speaking tests for students. Okay, I have three main parts in this video. The first one is about some basic information about the speaking test. Second one is some requirements that you need to follow while doing speaking tests for students. And the third one, I will give you a sample speaking test about the process of the speaking test overall. Okay, let's go to the first part here about some basic information about speaking tests. For your information, as you know, at Gimme 5 level, we students have to take a test after they learn 3 units, we call term. Okay, they have the speaking test as well as the listening, reading, and writing test. So 3 units they have the test. So totally they will have 3 tests for each book. Gimme 5 1 to Gimme 5 6. And the next is about some requirements that you need to follow where you do speaking tests for students. I have it divided here before the test, what you need to do before the test. You can see here that the Vietnamese teachers will send you the speaking scripts and speaking pictures used for speaking tests. So you must take some time to go through all of them to get familiar with the form of the test, about the pictures, about the scripts. Okay, and the place and the time where the speaking test is taken will also be included in the email that the Vietnamese teachers send to you. And in case that the class have so many students, so you need to pay attention to the time allocated for each student speaking test to make sure that you cover a suitable number of students during speaking test. Make sure that all of them have a suitable amount of time. Okay, next one is about during the test. Some requirements here, please let's have a look. First one, you need to show up 5 to 10 minutes earlier with Bubble uniform. You need to show up earlier because you have to make sure that everything is ready for the test. And if this is the first time you test student speakings, so you should ask the Vietnamese teacher to do a demo once with you before the test so that you can get familiar with the form of the test. And then you check the materials that the Vietnamese examiners already prepare about the speaking scripts, speaking pictures, about the pen with the camera as well. And when everything is ready, you press the recording button and then you start to test the speaking skill of each student within the recommended amount of time. During the test, you need to show friendly attitude because some students maybe the first time they do speaking test, so they can be very nervous. So after that, you will support students with back question if they are confused, but you don't wait for them so long. Please remember that you don't wait for them so long because it will extend the test time of other students. So because you need to cover all of the students, so you need really to pay attention to the time estimated, the time allocated for each speaking test. And next one, you have to mark the speaking paper and then you choose the right option of feedback at the end of the paper of the speaking scripts. And after that, you have to write the compliments or some recommendations or the feedback to the students. Okay. At the later part, I will do this for you to make it clear. So how about after the test? When you finish the test, what will you do? You have to double check the score that you have given, and then you sign the time you have taken the speaking test. It's normal for you to have 75 minutes at a normal class for a test. So it's normal for you to sign 75 minutes, but you can sign up to 90 minutes in case that the class have so many students and you need to do the speaking test in 90 minutes to cover all students. So in this case, the Vietnamese teachers will inform you that you can do the test in 90 minutes. So please don't be worried. Okay, about the time recommended for each speaking test I had told before. So here, for Bubble for Gimme 5 level, the testing time per student will be different among terms and levels. So please have a look at the top of the page of the speaking scripts to know the amount of time you have estimated, or the Vietnamese teacher they will have send you in the emails the amount of time you have to test for each student. Okay, at least a part in example speaking test, I will show you where that you can find the amount of time here in the speaking scripts. Okay, so here is all the requirements that you need to follow while you do the speaking test. So to make it clear, to make it detailed, we move here to the sample speaking test. Okay, now let's have a look at this. This is the speaking script of the Gimme 2 term test 1. Okay, so I know, I guess that many of you get familiar with this test. So first one here, you can see here that is the speaking term 1. And here is the time estimated for the test here. The time here, we have put it here is 4 to 6 minutes per student. So you need to make sure that you cover one student in 4 to 6 minutes. 6 minutes is the maximum. So you need to pay attention to the time. Okay, now let's start the speaking test. The first one, just follow the speaking scripts. Okay, you press the button, the recording button, and then ask them, part 1. Okay, hello, what's your name? Hello, my name is teacher JD, for example. What's your name? And then they will answer, and you continue with the last question here. So how do you spell your name? How old are you and how are you today? And if they make any mistake, you can mark in the paper here. So for example, if they cannot answer how old is he or is she, they will make here, here, make example here. They cannot answer it. But how are you today? That you can mark it here, happy or not. They can mark in the paper if they cannot answer the questions, and depend on their performance that you will have the points here. For example, if they do it really good, excellence, they will give here 8.4 for question, and if they do it not really good, it depends on the performance that you will get the points for about 7 or 6. It's up to you. Okay, now let's move to part 2. Part 2, you need to bring out the scene picture here. This is the speaking pictures the Vietnamese examiner have prepared for you. Okay, you bring here and you continue from the first questions to the last. Okay, the first one that you can ask, what sports do you see in the pictures? Okay, and student will respond to you. Okay, and then you can put a tick here. If they answer the question correctly, you can mark it here. Yes, it's good. And then continue. And if they cannot answer the questions, you need to add backup question here. Now please have a look at the backup questions. Okay, remember that you don't wait for them so long. If they cannot respond to your question, you need to ask backup questions to make it easier for them. For example, you have to point to the point here and you say that is it cycling or is it skateboarding? Is it volleyball? Is it football? So student will say yes, and they will guide them to answer that I see cycling, I see skateboarding, or I see football here. Okay, so depend on the performance. So you will get the points here. If you have to ask backup questions for them to answer it, that you have to minus the points. For example, here, for have 5 questions, and if they have to pick up, it means that each question, each answer will have 2 points. And if they have to rely on the backup question to answer it, so you need to minus half of the points, for example. So here, yes, you just give them, it's here, 1 point. Okay, just 1 point here if they need backup questions. And then continue with the next question. Do you like rollerblading? There is tendencies for a student to say it's just yes or no. And you have to extend the answer of the student by saying that yes, I do, or no, I don't. And they have to repeat. And if they just say yes or no, you have to minus the point. And you continue with the rest question here. And you put it here, put it you put a like this when they answer the questions excellent. And when you make any mistake, for example, if they just say yes, if they just say no, you can underline the word here so that the Vietnamese teacher can know that they just focus on saying yes or no. They cannot extend their answers. This means that they just respond yes or no. Yes, okay. And you need to sum the points here. For example, after this one, and this, you have to give the point here. For example, if they do really good, you give it 10, 9, or 8, depends on their performance. And I will remind you one more time about the backup questions here. You need to follow, for example, if you ask what is your favorite sport and they cannot answer it, so you need to ask them that, for example, do you love playing football? Do you love playing volleyball? So the student can answer it, and then you guide them to answer that my favorite sport is, yes, they have to repeat, okay? And then you will get the points here at this column. So the part 3, you need continue with the speaking pictures here, and you need to point to the girl and say, she catches the ball. How about this boy? What does he do? Okay, what does he do? So the student, you answer it. He throws the ball, he kicks the ball, or he jumps. There's a tendency that student will forgot to put an S here. Yes, it's normal for students to forget it S. So you need to mark in the paper about the S here if they cannot answer the sentence with S. They just say he throw the ball, he kick the ball, he jump. Okay, and then you can write your comments here. For example, they say S. Okay, and they cannot answer it yes, and they put it here. So the Vietnamese teacher, they will notice and they will give their comments. Okay, so you need to ask back a question here. For example, in case that the student do not know how to answer, yes, and then you give the points here as well. Yes, how it's all about the first pictures. Move to the second picture here as well about the part 4. You also continue with all the questions here from the first to the last, and then you need to mark the mistake here in the speaking script. For example, if they just say yes or no, okay, they forgot to say yes, it has or no, it hasn't, okay, or they say they cannot say anything, that you can write your comment here in this column, so the student so the teachers will notice them, and depends on their performance that you will give them the scores here. Two points for each questions. Okay, you sum up the point and you will give the points here for student. For example, 20. Okay, 20. Good. Yes, and next one is it's time for students to guess your favorite animals. So you will say here according to the script that you will guess, okay? And if it's maybe hard for the students, so you need to ask them about the backup question here to give the clue for the students, okay? And if you ask backup questions, just remember to minus the points for the student because they cannot respond to them immediately when you ask the question. They need to they need to rely on your backup questions. Yes, okay. Here is all about the part 4. And next one here, I have part 5. The last part is you need back to the first speaking pictures. What food do you see in the picture? You need to show the picture here and you point what food do you see in the pictures. Okay, then the student can say that I see blah blah blah. I see apple, I see banana as well. Okay, and it's yes, and then what food do you like? I like, for example, and if the student cannot say immediately, you just ask them about the backup questions. For example, do you like carrots? Do you like bananas? So they will answer, yes, I do, or no, I don't. I like, for example. And the last question is, how much are these bananas? You need to point to the picture, yes. And then you ask, how much are these bananas? And then they will answer it. Okay, and depends on the students answer that you will get the points here. And if they make any mistake, you can mark on the papers, okay? And then, okay, for example, if they say I has, so you need to underline the word have here, or they cannot say 25, or they answer sense without S, for example, here. And then you can write the comment in this column, and then you get the points here. For example, it says 6 points, for example. And it's all about the questions for speaking test, okay? And yes, you can say goodbye to the students. It's the end of the speaking test. So see you next time. Thank you. Okay, goodbye. And when you say goodbye to the student, it's time for you to write your comments here about 5 aspects: pronunciation, vocabulary, accuracy, interaction, and fluency. You have to circle the options. This is the feedback for a student so that they will know that which aspect they need to improve. So please give an honest feedback. For example, pronunciation is excellent. For example, you just circle here excellent. But the vocabulary, they are good. This is good. Accuracy is good. For example, okay, the interaction with the teachers is good. How about the fluency? Okay, for example, okay, but you could do even better. Yes, here you need to choose the correct options of feedback. And this space is for you to write your additional comments about what your comments about the performance or about something that you noticed in the class or about what you feel about the students. You can write it here on in this blank space. Okay, we really appreciate your additional comments. About the total points here, total points, you don't need to sum the points. The Vietnamese examiner will do this for you. So please don't be worried about summing the total points here. Okay, and this is also what I have to say about how to do a speaking test. And if you have any questions or anything that are not clear about the speaking test, the process of speaking test or the steps, you can ask your Vietnamese teachers or the people you work directly with. So they will be very happy to answer all of your questions if you do not know about anything. So thank you for your question. Thank you for your watching and see you in the next video. Thank you. Goodbye. Mhm.